Good morning. So today is math lesson 140, and I always do this. I forget to look at what pages. You need pages 253 and 254. We're just going to do a very quick review today. I'm going to go over some mental math problems again. I'm also going to very quickly review equations and order of operations. We're going to do the word problems together, and then you're going to have the rest of the time to fill in the sheet. So let's do some mental math problems to warm up our brains and see if you can follow along today as I remember and read correctly. Here we go. 4 problems today. Here's the first one. Lots of threes. 3 times 3 divided by 3 plus 3 minus 3 times 3 plus 3 times 3 minus 3 divided by 3 equals. Do you have 11? Hopefully I said all the 3's in the correct order, but I believe I did. Should be 11 if I read all of that correctly. That's a lot of 3's for me to keep an eye on as I'm looking up at the camera. All right, the next one has a lot of 5's. Here we go. 5 times 5 plus 5 divided by 5 plus 5 times 5 minus 5 divided by 5 minus 5 equals. Did you get 5? That should be the final answer as you're going through each of those. 5 should be what you end up with. Next one is a lot of 2's. They just like repetitive numbers today. So we have 2 times 2 plus 2 times 2 minus 2 divided by 2 plus 2 times 2 minus 2 divided by 2 equals. Do you have 6? 6 is the right answer. And then the last one, no repeating numbers this time. It's just a stretch of mental math. Here we go. 15 divided by 3 times 4 times 5 times 2 divided by 10 plus 10 minus 2 divided by 7 equals. You should have gotten 4 as your result because you end up with 28 divided by 7 is 4. Okay. So hopefully your brains are warmed up. Let's do a couple mental word problems. So listen carefully. The Thompson family paid $30,000 for a lot. Okay, that's just the property. The house they built cost 5 times the cost of the lot. What was the cost of the lot and the house? You can pause if you need a little time, but I want you to do this mentally, not writing it out on anything. All right, let's go through the answer. $30,000 is what they paid for the lot. The house cost 5 times as much, so that's $150,000. Then it said, what is the cost of the lot and the house? So you have to add them together. You should have $180,000. Here's the next one. This one you might need to work out. See again, if you can do this in your head, I'll give you time to pause and give me the answer. If a watch gains 15 seconds per day, by how many minutes too fast will it be in 8 weeks? So if a watch gains 15 seconds per day, by how many minutes too fast will it be in 8 weeks? If you need to pause and do it on paper, not a problem. If you can do it in your head, that would be amazing. All right, hopefully you solved it the correct way. Now, 15 seconds per day, okay, and you're wanting to figure out weeks. So first you're going to have to do times 7, and then times 8. Or you could do 15 times 56 to get the answer. And then how do you figure out how many minutes? Well, you divide by 60. And if you can do that in your head, that would be great. When you divide by 60, you're going to get 14 minutes too fast in 8 weeks. That's 56 days times 15 seconds. Okay, and then ended up dividing by 60. All right, let's jump into our review of our equations and order of operations. So you can do those parts in the review, and then we will do the word problems together. So let me push in the chair, stand up here at the board. I want you to go ahead and try these on your own. So pause on your own whiteboard or on paper. Go ahead and solve them if you can see them without the glare, and then come back and hopefully you showed your work properly and got the correct answers. All right, so welcome back. I'm gonna use red today since it matches my bow. Yes, I know, it's National Wear Your Ears Day, and you all know I love things Disney, so that's why I'm wearing them today. Deal with it, right? Okay, hopefully you remembered we solved the side that doesn't have the variable. So we have 2y equals 20. I undo the operation by dividing, but I have to keep it equal. Dividing by 2 is equal to dividing by 2. Why? Because it undid this operation, so I can have y by itself, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. Did you check your work? Because I hope you did. This is good habits. Let's substitute it in. 2 times 10 instead of y. We can use the dot, or we can use parentheses. And then we have 5 times 4. Yes, sir?
Hey, are you in the middle of instruction?
Yes, I'm video recording my math lesson.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have 2 times 10 and 5 times 4, and I already know those are equal, so it checks out, and hopefully you showed your work correctly. That doesn't look like it's showing up too well, so I'm going back to black for this next one. And hopefully you remember that this is the side you need to solve first because it doesn't have a variable. Now please keep in mind that this order could switch around. We could have 6 plus 3 equals n plus 4. The variable doesn't always have to be on this side. Is it most frequently on this side? Yes, but don't freak out if they ever switch it because it's going to work the same way. You just solve the part that's not with the variable. And then we undo the operations. To undo adding, we subtract, so this is gone. Okay, minus 4, we kept it equal on both sides, so n is alone. And then 9 minus 4 gets 5. I know it's very simple math. We are working on learning the correct steps rather than working on complicated problems as far as hard numbers. All right, so this is what we're training on, not the actual adding and subtracting. Again, we check substituting n for the value we found. 5 plus 4 instead of n plus 4 equals 6 plus 3. And we check it. 5 plus 4, 6 plus 3. They are equal, and that also shows up a whole lot better than the red. Last one. We gave a order of operations problem for you to solve. This isn't an equation, there's no equal sign. So we follow our PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add or subtract, or purple eggplants make disgusting afternoon snacks. Here we go. No parentheses, no exponents. I do have multiplication and division, and remember I told you when they're strung together, we just go left to right. So 7 times 6 is 42, divided by 2, 21. We still have a 5 and a plus sign, and since that's all that's left, we end up with 26 as the answer. So I hope you got these correct as you went through. While I erase this board, go ahead and solve 1, A through D, and we'll just quickly go through the answers in just a moment. So A through D. If you're not finished, hopefully you pause this video. If not, remember to pause it because I'm going to go over the answers. Come back when you're ready. All right, number 1A, you should have y equals 2. 8 plus 3 plus 3 is 14, and then you had to divide by 7. B, n equals 18. 27 divided by 9 is 3. To undo the operation, you have to multiply by 6, and 3 times 6 is 18. And check your work, it will work out. C, x equals 34. We had to do 5 times 8, which is 40, and then you had to subtract the 6, so you get 34. And then the last one you did D, you should have y equals 18. Best number ever. 108 divided by 12 is going to be 9, and then you had to add 9 on both sides to keep the equation balanced, so y equals 18. And I hope you showed that you checked your work on there as well. Let's go ahead and go through number 2 section where we've got some word problems. We're going to do A through D together just to make sure you're setting them up correctly, and then you'll do E through H on your own as you complete the worksheet. So A, reading along with me, when a sum of money is divided equally among 5 persons, each person receives $12.75. If the money was divided equally among 3 persons, how much would each person receive? They give us several pieces of information here. Let's see if we're over far enough or too far. Okay, that should work pretty all right. So they tell us that each person out of 5 persons receives $12.75. So the first thing you're going to have to do, hopefully you recognize, is to find the total again by multiplying by 5. So we've got 5 times 5, 5 times 7 plus 2, 5 times 2 plus 3, and then 5 times 1 plus 1. Don't forget our decimal point, and it is money. So here was the total, because when they divided it among 5 persons, they each got $12.75. So we multiplied to work our way back to what the total was. Now the question says if it was divided among 3 persons or people, how much would they each get? That should be pretty clear that you're now going to have to divide by 3. I'm going to go ahead and put my $ and decimal point in my answer so that I don't forget it. There's nothing to move because I'm not dividing by a decimal. So we simply divide 2 times 3. That should be easy. 1 times 3. 2 times 3. And 5 times 3. Always in our answer, we have to put $, units, and words when we're talking about answers to a word problem. So it becomes $21.25 per person now. Okay? Let's move on to 2B. Again, read along with me. It says a piano that was marked at $5,225 was on sale at a 15% discount. Find the amount of discount and the final sale cost. We've done this so many times, this should really be familiar, but let's make sure we're setting it up correctly. We've got $5,225. How do we find the discount? You should be right. We change it to a decimal point and we multiply by 15% as a decimal point 15 to find out what was the discount taken off. 5 times 5, 5 times 2 plus 2, 5 times 2 plus 1, and 5 times 5 plus 1. You should be doing this on your paper. I'm not doing this to hear myself talk, right? So 1 times 5, 1 times 2, 1 times 2, 1 times 5. So when we add it together, 7, don't forget your decimal point. So what was the discount amount? That's the first thing we had to find, $783.75. But the second part it wants us to find is the final cost. We know the original cost. I know you know how to do this. Now because this has a decimal point in it, if we're going to subtract, we need to make sure that it's lined up and put a decimal point there. You cannot forget these things. Now we can subtract properly. So here we can borrow. And of course, put our comma in and our dollar sign. So this was the final cost here. Remember, in a word problem, we always want to have words in our answer. Oh, wow, that was horrible. Here we go. Fix that. And this was the discount. Remember, it asked for 2 answers. We had to use that to find the final cost. Do you remember how you could do it in one step? Remember, if we're getting 15% off, we could also multiply this if they didn't ask for the discount amount. We know they're paying what percent then? 85%. We could just multiply this by 85% and it would take us straight here, but they asked for both answers, so we did it this way. Hold on a second. All right, sorry, I had to pause for a second. Let's move on to problem C, again reading with me. Mr. Wheeler bought a used car for $5,000 and sold the car for $6,000. What is his percent of gain? Now the wording might throw you off a little bit, but it's the same as percent of change. Gain is going up, obviously loss would be going down, so it's the same thing as percent of change. Do you remember how we set that up? We should take the original minus the new amount, so we subtract and find the difference. This is very easy to do in our heads, but I'm going to write it out for you so you can see and remember how we got it. All right, so something was 6,000 and we subtract 5,000. So the difference is 1,000, right? He bought and sold the car for 6,000. What is his percent of gain? Do you remember how we now set it up to find that percent of change? We found the difference. Difference over original. So the original price was this. We have 1,000 over 5,000. Here's the difference. Here's the original. This should be very easy to simplify because all those zeros can cancel out when we divide by 1,000. We get 1/5. We know the decimal for 1/5 is 0.2, and we know that then transfers to 20%. That is our gain. That's our percent of change. So our answer is 20% gain. He made that much profit because he bought something for 5,000 and then was able to sell it for a higher price. All right, part D. Again, you should be writing these along with me because you're going to have to show that you did this work. You don't get a grade for Mrs. Nightingale doing the work. D. The band was allowed to keep 2/3 of the money from the sale of tickets at the band concert. The total sale was $810. So how much were they allowed to keep? Do you see a key word there that tells us what operation? They get to keep 2/3 of the money. What does of mean? Multiply. Hopefully you remembered. Of means multiply. So if we have 2/3 of the money, I'm going to put 2D here. We know that's multiplying, and then they tell us what the money amounted to. The sales amounted to $810. I'm going to set it up as a fraction. I'm not changing it to a decimal, and I'm not changing it to a percent. So I have 2/3, and I'm going to multiply that by 810, and I just put it over 1. Because that's a lot easier. In fact, I'm going to drop it down here where it's out of the glare that's on the board. So here is how it's set up. If you recognize, you can cross cancel. How do I know this is divisible by 3? Well, because 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 0 is 9. Remember the total of the digits? I can divide by 3, then I can divide the whole thing by 3. So 810 divided by 3, it goes in twice with 2 left over. is 270. Divide it on the side. If you can't do it on your head, that's not a problem. I'm left with 2 times 270 over 1 times 1. So 2 times 270 would be 400 plus another 140. Right? 400 plus another 140. There we go. $540 over 1, which we know we can simplify to just $540. And what are they asking? How much were they allowed to keep? So we'll put $540 kept. And that's it. Okay. So go ahead and do E through H. Yes, they're the green letters. You're going to be doing them. Section 3, you're finding the answers where they're asking for perimeter or area or circumference. Section 4, you are converting measures. Remember, smaller to larger, divide. If you're going larger to smaller, multiply. So make sure you're using the correct operation and the correct number to multiply or divide by. Section 5 is find the answers. Watch your order of operations. Watch changing your percents to decimals. And then please cross off number 6 and number 7 because those are part of the lessons we skipped over until we come back. So I hope that was a helpful review, and I'll see you all in the next math lesson. Bye, guys.